I try my best to provide for my family, bro. My credit ain't the best, you feel me? And I'm trying to provide for my family, so yeah, we trying to rent until we buy a house. The first day we move in, right? We see some and they me up. And we tell the nigga like, yo, we need our money back. And the motherfucker like, nah, you can't get your money back. Now, I'll be wrong if I revert to my old ways.
Bro was ready to crash out, and I feel him. As a man, our responsibility and most of our dreams are centered around building ourselves up and being able to put ourselves as well as our families in the best situations and environments possible. Which is why when most athletes are drafted, the first thing they do is buy their mother a house in a nice neighborhood. And this situation isn't too different from that. Jay Amore Love is a content creator with 3 million followers on TikTok. It seems like he just kind of lives the influencer lifestyle, but I believe he got big off eating different foods and making family content. So he's blessed enough to be making some real money through his content and was able to move his family into a huge mansion, which it seems like is where all the trouble started that we're about to talk about. But I'm Jill, welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into it.
I want you to look at this house. I want you to see how big this house is. And it's really fucking with me, bro, because I try my best to provide for my family, bro. And, you know what I mean? Like, look at this shit, bro. Look at this shit, right? I'm a real nigga from the hood, you feel me? My credit ain't the best, you feel me? I start making videos, I ran that shit up, and I'm trying to provide for my family, so yeah, we trying to rent until we buy a house. And this is what I'm presented with, right? The first day we move in, right? We see some shit. And it me up. Look at this shit, bro. And it me up, right? And we tell the nigga like, yo, we need our money back, right? And the motherfucker like, nah, you can't get your money back. Now, I'll be wrong if I revert to my old ways and I see about the, you dig what I'm saying? This is the whole point of this. When I walk out of my house that I pay $13,500 a month for,
First of all, I feel, bro, there's nothing worse than doing everything you can to be on the right path. Then as you're trying to level up, it feels like somebody's playing with you or setting you back. That will make anyone that's ever been through anything revert to old behaviors and be on the verge of crashing out. Especially when your woman or kids or family is involved, because it's more than just a respect thing at that point. You're literally trying to take care of your family and you feel like someone or something is affecting that. And you can tell bro isn't crying over the money. That is a frustration cry. Like when you want to put hands on somebody because they're playing with you. That's that I don't want to end up doing something I'm going to regret and throw my life away cry. And like I said, I feel for him. With that said, $13,000 on rent every month, that is insane. $13,000 on rent, even if you have it, is just throwing money into the fire. That's money that's leaving your pocket that could be used just to save, invest, pay whatever debt off, anything that's going into somebody else's pocket. There are so many investments you could be making with $13,000 a month. Invest in a mutual fund, stocks and bonds. Hell, put some money in crypto. Buy cheap rental properties until you build up a huge portfolio that can eventually buy you that same mansion. But don't throw away $13,000 a month just so you can stunt on TikTok or social media. It's not worth it. Your family that you're trying to put in a good position now will be much better off if that money was invested and compounding and growing over time than you throwing it away on rent. Bro is suffering from the worst lifestyle inflation I've ever seen. And I get it, lifestyle inflation is real. It hits everybody a little bit. If you get a new job, you want to show that you got a new job or you have more money coming in. So you're upgrading your wardrobe, or maybe you want to buy a new car to match that new job or new title, whatever it is. But it's unnecessary, because if you don't increase your expenses and your income is steadily increasing, that's more money to invest, more money to save, more money to build your retirement off of. So instead of throwing away $13,000 on rent, Jay Moore should have stayed wherever he was and just let that money stack. And if he couldn't stay exactly where he was, maybe he needed a better environment for his family, then he could have rented somewhere way cheaper that was still nice, still better than where he was, a safer environment, whatever the case, an upgrade that's not breaking the bank at $13,000 a month, maybe a couple $1,000s a month. And then he could have used that extra money that he had coming in that's now not going to a $13,000 a month mansion and been paying off debt and improving his credit and stacking up to put himself in a better position to actually buy that house one day. You got to think, if bro was able to rent a nice house, I don't know where exactly he is. He mentioned he might move back to Atlanta, so I figure he's in the South. The South is much cheaper than anywhere up north, right? If he's able to get a nice house, maybe not a mansion, maybe a mini mansion, for $3,000 to $5,000, that's $8,000 to $10,000 that he would be able to use to pay off credit cards, pay off loans, pay off collections, or whatever other debt that he has, and improve his credit score until he was in a good enough position to actually become a homeowner. I hate to harp on this, but I just hate to see anybody throw away that amount of money on rent when you could just be doing so many other things with it. And it seems like a lack of financial literacy in this situation anyway. If he had a financial advisor, CPA, business manager, I'm sure any one of them would have told him that he would be wasting money by renting a $13,000 a month mansion. He would just be throwing money away, and I'm sure they wouldn't go for it. Even if you have the money coming in, we all know the content creation game may not have longevity attached to it. So yeah, run up that bag as much as you can, but you also need to be thinking about the future. So instead of wasting that $13,000 a month, you should be stacking up. And it's no way you should be paying that out of pocket to live in a mansion that you're renting while you still have bad credit. It just doesn't make sense. In addition to the lifestyle inflation thing, there's a bit of keeping up with the Joneses going on as well. You can see from his TikTok, he's living the influencer lifestyle, nice clothes, nice cars, a lot of cash, jewelry, all of that. He talks about money on his page a lot. I mean, it's part of his content, so I get it. It's a lot of influencers that live the fake it till you make it lifestyle, but not at the expense of your family or your future, especially if you don't have good enough credit to buy a house. And if you think about it, I mean, there are so many programs that help first-time home buyers. Again, I don't know which state he's living in, but worst case scenario, you can use a FHA loan, which is 3.5% down. And I think they take credit scores as low as 580 or 600. So if he was able to pay off some of his debt, raise his credit score, get an FHA loan, and start buying properties, that would be the way to go over wasting all his money on a mansion. Imagine if he bought a house today with the FHA, lived in it for a year, bought another house, rented that house out, and built a portfolio of real estate properties that would eventually buy him that house that he wanted in cash. That would be the goal, not to fake it till you make it and just throw away thousands of dollars a month on rent for a house you don't own. So like I said at the beginning of this video, I definitely get the frustration. You can imagine being so happy and proud, moving your family in a new house, and then all of a sudden you have mice or rat droppings everywhere. You have rodents running around. Like, that's not a good environment for your family. That's a terrible environment to raise kids in. And you're spending all this money, so you wouldn't expect to have those type of problems. However, you would think there were a couple things that he could have done to fix the problem other than like crying on the internet. Most people would call an exterminator. I don't know if because he was a renter and whatever his lease agreement says, if he would have to go through his landlord or not. But I would assume his landlord, unless he's a complete scumbag, would be willing to call an exterminator to come out and get rid of the rodents. It costs a few $100s at most. Or worst case scenario, he's spending $13,000 on a property a month. You would think he would be willing to spend a few $100s to get an exterminator out there to get rid of the rodents and make it a rodent-free environment for his family. But I could get if he didn't want to do that because he's already paying so much money in rent. Now, devil's advocate from the perspective of a landlord. If my tenants called me and said they saw rodents or droppings or whatever it is and requested an exterminator, I of course would send an exterminator out to the property because I wouldn't want to deal with that problem long term either. And if you don't handle it up front, it'll just get worse. But one thing I wouldn't be doing just because a property had issues is giving money back from a tenant that's requesting it without trying to remedy the situation. If there's rodents in my property that you're renting, I'll call an exterminator. If there's a leak in my property that you're renting, I'll call a plumber, and so on and so on. But I'm not just giving you your rent money back or ending my lease because you're unhappy with the situation, not if I'm willing to remedy it. So I don't think the landlord was wrong or playing or super disrespectful for refusing to end his lease or give him his money back just because there was a problem with the property. I think there are problems with most properties that are rented out, and of course landlords deal with them. Now let's look at some of these comments. He's crying because he don't want to resort to violence. He's crying because he's mad as I don't blame him. I don't blame him either. Like I said, that's a very frustrating experience to spend all this money, to think you're putting your family in a better situation, environment, and then you run into something like that. Droppings or rodents or whatever the case that would just make your family uncomfortable and feel like they're in an unsafe environment. And then on top of that, if the landlord wasn't trying to remedy the situation, call exterminators, or work with you in any way, shape, or form, then I would definitely have a problem with that. And you can see the frustration in his face when he's talking about it, so I can relate. $13K for rent is wild. That's mortgage. Save your money until you're ready to buy. 100% correct. 9 times out of 10, that's way more than mortgage actually. And depending on where he lives, he can get a mansion just like that for way cheaper, especially in the South. Paying $13,000 a month while you have bad credit and you're unable to buy a house is just crazy. Take the landlord to court. I honestly don't think you will be able to take the landlord to court unless there was a pest control problem that they weren't able to fix. From what he said, it didn't sound like he asked the landlord to get exterminators out there. It sounded like he demanded his money back. Again, as a landlord, I'm not giving money back to a tenant or returning rent to a tenant because there is a pest problem or a leak or anything like that. I'm going to fix the situation. So maybe they weren't able to come to terms with what he wanted and what the landlord was willing to do. But unless there's complete negligence, he really can't take the landlord to court for anything. If anything, if he just left the property and broke the lease or moved out without paying some type of fee, then he will be the one that will be taken to court. Everything should be spotless and perfect for $13K. You would think, and that's what he thought moving into that property, because it does seem like a dream home that anyone would want to live in. But with the house that big, us not knowing how long it was vacant, like anything could be wrong with that house. There could be animals in there. It could be leaks. It could be appliances not working, anything. You just never know with the property, which is why he probably should have done a walkthrough inspection before moving in and paying all this money to the landlord, because I'm sure he would have been able to catch some of that stuff. He's crying because he wanted that house for his family. He wanted to do right by them, but he's mad as I would be crying too. Yeah, that's understandable. He actually made a comment updating everybody on the situation. Thank you for all the prayers and support. We've made the decision to move out. I think that's a good decision. And again, not knowing what the landlord's true actions were, if he was willing to fix something or not, I would assume the J.M. Moore had to pay a hefty fee to break the lease, because you can't just leave a property that you've agreed to rent out for 12 to 18 months without breaking the lease and paying some type of fee to the landlord. Buy a cat. That's I mean, just sue him. Again, you can't really sue him for anything unless there's negligence or the landlord broke the lease in some type of way. First off, paying $13,000 a month is crazy. You got that much money, fix your credit and buy. Rent something cheaper until then. Exactly what I said earlier. Financial literacy is so important because that decision just doesn't make sense. It looks like you're living for the external, for you to look good in front of people, than really to be fixing your situation. So it's good news he was able to get out of that house. I'm sure him and the landlord wouldn't have had a good relationship after that anyway. I do hope that he wisens up and moves to a cheaper place where he can save more money, pay off debt, improve his credit, and eventually buy a house like that and not be making a landlord richer that doesn't care about him in the long run. It's always best to own your own property if you can, because when you pay your mortgage every month, you're building equity that you can borrow from if you need it or cash in when you sell it. And you don't have any of that with rent. Plus, there are a lot of tax benefits that you get from owning a home that you don't get as a renter. So there are just so many ways that you can win from being a homeowner that you don't get as a renter. And again, spending $13,000 a month to pay somebody else to live in their house is just dumb in my opinion. But thanks for watching, y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is paying $13,000 in rent that okay if you got it? Or is that just wasting money no matter what? Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate y'all. Please make sure you check out the next video, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.